Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. We are in Nebraska, coming to you from Nebraska. Is that what you're supposed to say on the radio?
Yep.
Or whatever this is?
Yeah.
Hope everybody's doing good on this hot middle of the day on a Saturday. Dan and Erik and all those guys texted and they're not going to be able to get on. So it's just us four losers here in the middle of the day trying not to sweat.
Yeah, for sure.
They we went hunting this morning, and then those guys didn't know. So there's something to be said about
we're
that.
the true hunters.
Right. Let us know if you can't hear one of us or something like that, guys, too, and I can mess with the mics. But they sound good on our end. Rendell, this is Rendell Erik. You guys, he's been on here once with Joe Miles. It's been over the summer.
Yeah, it was during the spring at the Deer.
That's
Ohio
right.
Show, yeah.
Yep. And this is my dad, Kevin, and he's hunting with us, and then Gary, of course, which Gary's been on here more than a handful of times now. So you guys are all familiar with Gary. But we thought we'd just get on here for an hour or so while we're not doing anything and talk about Nebraska deer hunting for a little bit. Sorry about last night. we were a little ambitious about our scheduling. I think me and Dad got an hour drive to where we were hunting, and we weren't going to get here until 15 minutes after the show started, and then we hadn't eaten or anything, and we wanted to get up and hunt the next morning, and the other camp was kind of in the same boat, so we decided to do it in the middle of the day today.
Sounds good.
What
Rendell's getting all kinds of deer pictures.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, what's just going on?
Iowa 300 inches.
Yeah. Giants in Iowa.
Yeah, all our trail camera has been doing is taking pictures of weeds,
Yeah.
wind.
Yeah.
We got a couple deer, but no shooters yet. Gary, what do you think about Nebraska so far? This is your first time hunting over here.
It's beautiful country and it's challenging. Challenging in the fact that, we have swamps by me and then obviously hill country by you. And this is the first I've ever seen miles and miles and miles and miles of corn.
Yeah.
And it's kind of overwhelming.
Yeah.
But, and the fact, and there's just a lot going on. I mean, to make it hard, besides the hot weather and the fact that they're in a drought, so you can't even see any tracks. And the acorns are far and few between. It's just the beans are yellowing up. It feels like everything's going against us, but we're seeing deer.
Yeah. The thing is, it sucks when the first of your hunt is like bad weather too, because that's all you want to do is like, I want to get on them quick. And it's like, you just gotta be patient, I think. And I think our time is going to be on that Tuesday or Wednesday when things change. Cause we're going to have, it's like 103 out right now today. And that's hot.
Yeah. So that's crazy hot.
Yeah. It was, when I went to the stand this morning, it was already in the upper 70s. I mean, it was still hot, I was going to ask you, what did you guys think about the pressure so far here?
I think a lot of it's just the dove season opened yesterday. So there's all kinds of guys out shooting shotguns, running around, a lot of the food plots. And then that pressure, we've seen people hunting about everywhere we've been. So it's not like crazy.
Yeah.
I've seen way worse.
It's manageable. There was somebody, I was telling Dad, there was somebody this morning parked in one of the parking lots on the public land that we were at, but I remember him from last year. I remember his truck. So it's probably I'm sure it's a local that, there's also a ladder stand up on that side of the public he was punting on. So I bet it was his ladder stand and he was just hunting there.
Yeah. The guy we ran into yesterday, he had a ladder stand up on the field edge, and Gary drug me 3 miles to this rough country spot. And then he put me in that little cattail swamp where I wasn't too happy, but I got out of there eventually.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh man, I hadn't laughed so hard. I was standing on a hill looking down in that marsh grass. Where's Rendell? I just hear a bleep, bleep, bleep. Line of cuss words. And I'm like, oh yeah, he must be right over there. Oh, just laughing. See, I had to be fair, I had hip boots on.
Yeah.
And he had just regular hikers on. So he's trying to get across this water that's about 1.5 feet deep. But yeah, we made her. It was a good time. That was probably 95 when we got over there yesterday.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I wonder if the weather conditions aren't keeping a lot of the locals be more pressure if the conditions were better.
We may be blessed that the cold front's hitting during the week. Like if it would have hit this morning or something, like there may have been people
wild out there.
Yeah. Maybe it kept the dove hunters out though. Maybe there wouldn't be as many dove hunters if it was cold.
I don't know, man. Those dove hunters are.
They probably would have went anyway.
Yeah,
it sounds like
went anyway.
It sounds like opening day of gun deer hunting in Wisconsin with as much shooting as they're doing. Oh, it's just crazy. They're serious about their doves, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we were set up last night, and for the whole 3 hours we were in the tree, all we heard was shooting. Every like,
see, we don't have dove hunters over by us. I guess
they're as anxious to dove hunt as we are deer hunt, though. Yeah. You know, I mean, it's their opening for all that too. So absolutely. It is what it is.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
Yep.
And honestly, I don't know how much they're hurting anything other than, you know, if they're just sitting on dove fields, it's probably not hurting anything.
Really trumping through the woods.
No, haven't seen a squirrel hunter yet. That's something I had seen before. They kind of can hurt stuff because they walk around a lot.
Yeah, I thought I heard a 22 go off last night a couple of times. So I think we had a squirrel hunter up above us.
Last night
messing us up.
Last night there was for sure a 22 going off.
Yeah. Yeah, and hadn't heard a gun go off.
Not close.
No. Jacob, I sent you the link to get on, man, on Facebook. If Jacob is in the show, Jacob's here hunting with us, so he'll hop on.
A little warm out there, Jake.
Yeah, I think Jacob he had a rough time yesterday. All right, let's hear. Here he is.
Yeah, I had a little bit of a rough time, Josh.
Let me turn you up on our end, man. Just 1 second. Okay, you're good.
1 sec. I got an echoing mic. Can you guys hear me right now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I couldn't hear anything for a sec.
You may just have the another page pulled up or something with the show on.
Zip up the slick ASIO gear right here. I don't want to show too much chest. Rick is on the other side of the table right now, but he's a little camera shy.
Oh, that's all right. Rick, you can come on if you want. There's only 68 people on, so
Ricky,
there he is.
Rick's been killing a lot. Actually, he's been killing a bunch of flies inside the house.
Crickets. We have a cricket infestation in this house.
I saw a cricket that was probably 3 inches long today, and it was like half eaten. And I was kind of terrified if that thing would land on me in the dark. I would have thought of it getting attacked.
Yeah, I had last night in the stand a cicada that was like I couldn't find him, and it sounded like he was in my ear. He was so freaking loud, it was deafening. I finally started hitting in my tree, and he blew off. I was like, I can't listen to this thing all night. Anyways,
you had a great horned owl flying.
I did. He flew right in the oak, just directly in front of me, maybe not even 10 yards. Got a little video of it, and then had a raccoon come underneath me, but nothing I was looking for. A couple squirrels.
Catch a raccoon and take it over by Dan.
I know. I thought Dan was playing a joke on me. I
sent him one buddies for some
cookies.
Yeah.
We've had a cat visiting our camp over and over again.
Oh, geez.
It just keeps coming up and wants to get petted. So Dan bought a bunch of cat food because the cat's really thin. It's 100 degrees out, so he cut open a water bottle and put some water in it. And he tried picking up the cat to bring it inside, and it clawed him. And he blamed it on me walking up to him as he was holding the cat. So I went back outside and I picked it up, and it was letting me pick it up and pet it. And I'm not gonna lie, Dan looked pretty jealous.
Yep. This is your kind of first out of state deer hunt.
Yeah.
You went with us. You went with us to Colorado hunting, but that wasn't.
I didn't have no license or anything either, though. I just went along for the ride, basically.
And this is your first time mobile hunting too, for the most part, with a stand and sticks. You've done climbers and stuff.
Back in the day, that's all we used to use was climbers or whatever. But getting it all thrown at me on the same weekend. So, yeah. So far, so good. Yeah.
Yeah. We had we both had a kind of a cluster going in. Me and Dad did. I was walking down the the lane, and I have a long walk to my spot, and I look down and my drop away limb driven rest is up. I'm like, what the heck? And I look down and my my dang cord on my bow had come loose. And so I had to I got my needle nose out and I had to retie that thing. Well, I don't have much rope to tie the rope back onto my bow. So I had to get my needle nose. It took me like 20 minutes to get that thing fixed. And then Dad, he had all kinds of stuff with him.
You could tell it's been a while since I've been mobile hunting or hunting in general with a bow. And I got to the tree and, starting to get everything set up. And of course, right off the bat, set my stick too high so that my stand was going to be too close to my stick. And that was going to put my stand too high and just everything there. And I finally got all that situated and just was kind of looking around and getting ready to bring my bow up and all that. And all of a sudden I went, I don't have my rangefinder.
Yeah.
And of course, there's a brand new area to me, had no idea how far anything was or whatever. So I thought, man, but we got there plenty early. We were way early and the wind's good. Back where the truck was at, I was going to be walking, right downwind again. So I wasn't going to hurt anything. I thought, I'm going to go back and get it. And went back, got my, and sure is laying right there where it was at, and grabbed my rangefinder, turned around, come back and got all the way back up, got everything set up, got my bow and everything, and reached in my pocket, and my release was in 2 pieces.
Yeah.
So I was like, at that point, I thought, man, it's been probably 25 years since I shot with my fingers. And but anyway, I found it. There was supposed to be 2 nuts holding it. I found one of them and got it pieced back together to where I think I could have shot if I needed to last night. But all that has been repaired. Tonight's venture back into the deer stand is going to be much smoother.
Tonight's
I promise.
Tonight's tonight.
These guys are making fun. It's been a long time since I shot a deer with my compound bow, and I'm just about leaning towards a doe. So we got tags. We got tags for bucks or does or any of it. So
how long has it been?
Man, I've been trying to think the whole time, and because I used a crossbow up in Wabash it's had to have been 15 years, I'd say, since I shot a bow shot a deer with a compound or whatever. So it'll be exciting. It'll you still get excited even if it's a doe. I still get excited about it. So it's fun. Hopefully it'll happen. We'll see.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It was fun this summer, like just getting you set up with a bow this year and stuff. We both like to tinker with things. I probably get that from him, and that's what I don't know how much we tinker with bows this year. Just we went through 2 bows and different draw links and all kinds of other stuff, but it was fun.
Feels good now.
Yeah.
Jacob,
what happened to you yesterday?
Oh, quite a bit of stuff. First thing, so here's your clickbait. I almost died twice.
I'll change the title to this.
There you go. So here's your clip. Just start it right there. So walking in, I was walking in the dark without a headlamp because it's a full moon. You can see pretty well. Yeah. And I come around a bend in the trail, and it just smells like awful ahead of me. And I notice there's like a dropping thermal. So I just get this awful smell. And I'm like, great. Now there's like something up in front of me, and it has no idea I'm here because I can't smell. So I start flashing my light, and I look, and there's a bison like 40 yards from me, like a big freaking buffalo, 40 yards from me. And I'm like, oh no. So I have like a strobe mode on my light, and I started clapping and using the strobe, and it took off. And it was just this giant black mass that I thought it was heading towards me at first. And I kind of might have pooped myself. And it ended up running the other way and broke through the brush, but it kept going on the trail. So like I ran into this bison like 3 more times. And by the 3rd time it was exhausted. So it just didn't do anything. And I walked past it at like 100 yards. So I did like 3.5 miles and got in. And yesterday it was like 75 degrees at like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And it ended up getting up to 94 around 8:30. And then it it peaked at like 102 degrees. And so I was shifting from different points, glassing and stuff like that. I saw a few deer in a buck, and I was liking what I saw, but I was just confused because this land is tough. They're so visual based, it seems like, with their bedding, but they're always in the shade. And so what I had seen before using like the sun exposure feature in CalTopo is that those areas that held shade for a long time because of the topography was what they were selecting for bedding. But at the same time, we have trees everywhere here. So it's not like they're concentrated in any area. And unlike you guys, there's like absolutely no pressure. Like I have not seen another boot print. I saw one trail camera today, and that's it. And that's kind of going to our disadvantage because the deer are anywhere. You know, they could be they could be right off of the trail. They could be anywhere. So when they're visual bedding like this, I found myself bouncing back and forth between different peaks and going up and down these really, really steep hills. And I brought 4 liters of water, and eventually, no matter what, I got extremely dehydrated. And so I sat by a creek for a long time and tried to sleep. And then every time I was about to go to sleep, I'd wake up with like a racing heart and stuff. And I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm like, it's like 4 o'clock. I can probably hang it till the end of the day, you know? So I book up this ridge, and I'm sitting under a tree and glassing and stuff. And I texted the group, and I was like, if you guys, like, if I don't make it back to my truck or if I don't come back to camp, just know I'm somewhere between this pin and the access. Like, just come find me. And then Eric's like, don't be stupid. And I was like, well, I'm not going to be smart. You know, I just got to kill some deer, you know, no balls, no bucks. And at this point, it was very, very, very sweaty balls, no bucks. And so I was just like dying. I was thinking like, man, if I see a deer like way out there, or if I see it move into some area that I'm going to get a stalk in on it, I don't think I can even make it to that deer and then make it out like that. And we talked to the DNR, and they said, like, there's no point in leaving a deer overnight. You can try covering it with your jacket. You can do any of that. They said there are people that will rifle hunt, and they'll shoot a deer, and by the time they can get to the deer they shot, they'll be ripped apart. They said the coyotes are insane out here. So I was like, I don't know why I'm even doing this. Like I can find intel another way for the morning sit. And I started heading back, and it was a 10-mile day, and it was about, I want to say 4.2 miles back. And it's just like up and down, bunch of like steep terrain. And I got to the point where I was like a mile away, and it was all open field and no shade. And I just felt like I was ready to pass out. Like I thought that if I took a break and stopped moving, I just wasn't going to get up. You know, I just thought I was just going to, I don't know. I thought I was going to black out. And my girlfriend called me and started telling me about her day. And honestly, that kept me awake is just listening to that and trying to hold a conversation. And I made it back. I got back to the truck. I realized I dropped an arrow within the last like 600 yards. And I was so exhausted. I was like, screw that arrow. Like I'm not going to go get that arrow. And I had a little bit of water in the truck. So I drank that water. I went to the store, and I sat with like a cart for like an hour just in the AC, like trying to regain some semblance of consciousness. And yeah, so it was pretty bad. I brought a lot of water, but I did a lot of boots on the ground, and I kind of screwed myself.
I'm glad you made it back, dude.
Yeah.
Hey, Jacob. So what is your tactic? Are you just scouting out as much as you can? Are you just trying to find bedding? What do you?
So I was just talking about this with Rick. When I first came here, it was going to be about overlooked properties, because all we ever heard from the DNR and the locals and everything is like, there's so much pressure out here. And it's funny because you hear that about everywhere nowadays. And it's like, there's like no pressure out here from what I've experienced, at least with the properties I've checked out. And so at first it was going to be, you know, your overlooked spots are getting further back, and I'm no stranger to walking far. So that was going to be my tactic, and I would leave the overlooked spots to the rest of the crew. When I started finding no pressure, I had sighted 2 shooters, like right at the beginning. And that was on, I came here, drove through the night, and then I went and scouted in the morning. And I got to the top of this ridge just at what would have been shooting time, but it was the day before opener. And I glassed 2 shooters blowing and stuff. And so I was like, came back here and reanalyzed those maps. And I figured the reason that they were in there is because it was a really steep cut going from one of the only ag sources, which is a wheat field. And it was in a cut that stayed shaded till like 10:30. And every other area was completely lit up with sun until like 9. So the next day I went way back in there, and the farmer started harvesting the field in the morning. So I don't think they came from that field like they normally plan. So I was like, great, well, that's burnt, So my tactics shifted from those really shaded cuts to glassing and then trying to get on them. Well, I found that anytime that you skyline yourself, like those deer are just gone. Like I've had deer run away from me from like what looked like a half mile away, and it probably easily was a half mile. So I was like, well, that's kind of out. And so I switched to just kind of like still hunting these bottoms. And right now, Gary, what I'm trying to figure out is what food source they're truthfully using, because I don't feel like they're actually coming from the fields like we anticipated. There's a few places where the oaks are dropping, but they're almost rotted, but there's a bunch of rotted oaks sitting on the ground like they just didn't eat them. And so I was scouting all these areas and trying to figure out bed to food. And I just realized today on a scout mission that they're just clinging really close to water. And it's not because they're drinking the water all the time or that there's select food by that water, but it's just that thermal and that coolness stays down there. So like even in an area where that Cal Topo is telling me that there's sun a lot of the day, it's such thick, like we have those wild sunflowers here. It's kind of funny. We actually have a lot of those, like we have a lot of like cannabis sativa, like actual.
Oh, it's everywhere here too. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all over the place, but they are really thick cover. So I'm finding deer in what looks like open where the sun would be hitting, buried in brush. And I've started finding beds where they're just getting, if they can, less exposure to the sun, and then that water bringing a cool thermal to them. I found that's kind of what they're doing. So my strategy was kind of to find a sacrificial lamb of a deer that I would slowly work my way through and bump him, and then dissect why he was there and start to apply it to different areas. But like I said yesterday, I went through so many miles not bumping a deer up close enough that I could figure out what they were doing, or not seeing it before I bumped it, that I had to completely shift strategies. And now it's like, okay, I feel like I have a bit of an understanding, and I'm going to start to actually take tactical sits at it.
There you go.
Yeah, super long-winded, but
just don't die doing it.
Yeah, that's a goal. I mean, if I have to die to kill a deer, I'll do it. But.
The symptoms of that wild ditchweed is the same as heat exhaustion.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Let's look at that stuff.
Yeah, that could be the problem.
Oh,
Gary, it was funny. You sent me some kind of polo where you said put that in your pipe and smoke it as like a joke, and then you found like the next polo was you finding that weed. I was like, oh, he meant it literally.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something we do not have in Indiana, is all that ditchweed.
Yeah, no, it's pretty crazy. It smells skunky too.
Yeah.
But Josh, what are your tactics going to be now?
Well, I'm kind of like Jacob. I'm trying to figure out. You guys are finding deer in cornfields. It seems like you were saying that you're seeing a lot of that. That cornfield that we're hunting near doesn't seem to have deer going to it at all.
It didn't seem to have the sign around it anyway.
No. We did find some oaks falling, but they aren't like they were last year here, where it's like you could see from last year all the heads on the ground.
Yeah.
It was crazy last year here with oaks, and this year it's like I would say 10% of that, if not less. And this is our second day, hunting. So I haven't figured hardly anything out yet, but, Jacob, I'm kind of in your boat. I'm moving closer to some water tonight. And then Dad's going to hunt the same spot he hunted, yesterday, which is down in like a low area where there's a creek running through it. I don't think the creek has any water in it. but we're going to focus in on there. And then what they do have in common is both places do have oaks in it, and then there's also bedding really near both of us. So like I can't tell you, we haven't seen a shooter yet. We've seen a bunch of does, but that's just what we're gonna. I don't know what else to do the next couple of days other than try to find some place that's cool. For me, one, when I'm sitting in there in the hot weather, and then two, I think the deer are going to prefer that as well. But then at the same time, I don't know, man. Deer are tough. Sometimes I think I think we're sometimes I think we underestimate what they care about, but it's hot for sure.
I think elevation change is going to be key in hot weather too, because you get down in those thermal hubs.
Yeah,
they'll cool off a lot faster than if you're up top.
Yeah,
in the sun and stuff, or anywhere you get a good wind, they might set up for if there's a hard breeze, they'll get out in that because that'll kind of keep the heat off them a little bit too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we tried hunting a thermal hub last night, and there was just a trickle of water going through there, and it was one of those things we were making it our way to the spot. Now, mind you, we hadn't been in there. We're looking at maps. We kind of drove around the property. We kind of figure we know where they'd be bedding, and we hit this hub system, and it's right along a river, and it's got jewelweed down there, just loaded. And I know they love jewelweed this time of year, and there's just trails all over. So we're like, all right, this is going to be it here. I'm like, it's funny. Rendell said before we left the truck, hey, maybe I should bring my thermocell. Mosquitoes. I'm like, I haven't seen a mosquito yet. It'd be no big deal. I'm going in a short sleeve shirt, and he went in his ASIO hoodie mask thing. I tell you what, maybe if we were in the ridges, it would have been all right. But down in that hub where that water was flowing through, I was getting hammered. I wish I would have had my ASIO hood / that thing is remarkable. That's my favorite piece.
We were on the side of the ridge, and I already had a couple mosquitoes on me, and I looked down and seeing that water and all that, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, let's stay high, Gary. And Gary's like, no, I want to hunt. I was like, please. I knew it. I'm like, I'm gonna get eaten alive. Last time I listened to Gary.
And I think it would have, we would have seen more. We had a couple issues going on. First and foremost, where the deer were coming across the finger, accessing some corn. The rancher left his cattle out there. They weren't out there yesterday or the day before, but in the afternoon, we get out there, and I know they don't like, deer just don't like going through where there's cows. But we're still hunting it. We feel pretty good.
Yeah.
And we get set up down in this bottom. It was just too good not to hunt. A lot of fresh sign. And all of a sudden, probably every 3 minutes, bang, 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 we'll hear the people on the private land are shooting their doves. It was just nonstop. I swear they went through 3 cases of shells shooting these.
Had a good day.
Doves. So, and when we got out, there was a couple guys in the parking lot, and they were not as serious as we are. They were just kind of like, "Hey, how's it going? You guys see anything?" And as they were, smoking their e-cigarettes and cigarettes and stuff, and we're just like, we didn't see anything.
We're just acorn tree.
He said there's one acorn tree that he sits by because it was dropping acorns last year. I said, well, are you sure it's dropping acorns this year? Well, I'm sure it is. I'm thinking we found one acorn tree out of everything and that's actually got our oak tree that has acorns, and this guy's, it's got to have them. I'm like, oh boy. But nice guys. It's just they came in behind us and bumped a bunch of deer. So
they set up like right on the bedding ridge. where we were trying to avoid. 'Cause
Yeah.
we think they were going to drop off that.
We circled around that
Yeah.
bedding ridge on purpose.
Yeah.
That's where they were going to drop down past us and into the corn.
And then our main where we wanted to go in, it was a sheer cliff. Gary walked right up and was like, Houston, we got a problem. I mean, it was straight like 50-foot drop. I mean, we're not climbing down that. So we should have went after we got done. We were like, oh, we should have went through the bottom and then along the river, then got set up instead of, because we had to kind of go around some deer where we thought they'd be bedded at. So that wasn't ideal. But then that guy came in there right into the bedding and just blew it up.
Yeah.
And he had no idea what he was doing. He just thought it'd be a good spot to go.
Right. We have a lot of these, I'm calling them draws on this property. And we have like a lot you can hunt on the south wind, a few you can hunt on the north too. So I think we're just going to keep bumping around until we find the draw they're in. Because it seems like to me, there's sign and there's a little bit of sign in all of them. The one I'm setting in tonight.
When you say sign, what kind of sign?
Just beat down deer trails and some poop and stuff like that. It's too dry. I can't find tracks.
Yeah.
I can't find.
The soil is super sandy.
Yeah.
So,
Everything looks like
they,
nothing.
They deteriorate so quick. Too,
Yeah.
after they lay them down.
Especially when it's windy, I think too, and everything. But I think we're just I'm going to keep bouncing around in there until we, put eyes on one in the right draw. I'm kind of excited for the north wind to come because we can switch sides of the property, and the other side looks really good too. I just can't really do much on the south wind over there.
Just gonna put more time in the scouting, blasting, hitting up new areas, looking at ag field sources, and stuff like that.
That's what I hunted until like 8 o'clock this morning. So I sat up there for an hour and a half and then got down and scouted until whatever time it was, 10 o'clock. And I came back. And that's when I found this. But I went down to this because I was setting up top today, this morning. And I went down to a little draw. And again, it was like a really good sign down there. I'm like, okay, this is good. It's closer to some water too. And then kind of hopped over to the next one too. And I kind of looked about the same, like, okay, we just need to keep pounding away in here and eventually we'll find one.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm going to do. I'm just going to kind of hit precision spots in those draws.
Yeah.
And see if I can't see something coming through and maybe get some observing at the same time. If I can see beyond, like this morning, I was in that draw and got in there. Everything was perfect. And the wind was just blowing in my face consistently. So I could get away with a lot. Got down in there and could see up on the other side where there was a trail that comes perpendicular to that draw that we think the deer are following, going from corn back to those draws. So I was able to watch it. I didn't see anything over there. I did have 2 does come in with 10 yards though. It was nice to see life in Nebraska. But I was in 4 WMAs now, and there's just not a lot of rub sign anywhere at all.
I found some good rubs today.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
Some freshmen from this year?
No.
Last
year's rubs, though.
And you found a shed.
Oh, yeah, I found a shed, too.
Yeah.
Josh, you always find sheds.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
I found. I found 2 elk rubs.
Nice.
Actually, I had
no cheating.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Are you sure it wasn't a bison rub?
I got a video of a 6x6 actually.
Cool.
I was trying to film those deer that spooked originally, and I didn't even see it till I got back home. I'm like, what's that giant thing in the background that I missed? And it's a huge 6x6. And the next morning, I was walking past one of the rubs I had seen before that was his. And I saw him up on a hillside. I got like 80 yards from him. You can just see kind of his neck and his outline because it's dark out. But then I came back out, and right along the trail that I accessed, he had made another rub on a pine tree, and the sap was still like dripping down. Like it wasn't even frozen in place yet. It was still running down the tree. So it was just hours old. It was crazy.
It's not going to freeze. It's 105 degrees out.
It's real close to their time of year, so they're getting antsy, I'd say.
I was hoping I'd hear a bugle.
Put that on your biscuits, right?
Yeah, it keeps the bugs away.
Jacob, what's the mule deer status out there?
I have not seen one yet.
Okay.
So I wish there were more. I saw a really gray looking whitetail yesterday from a long distance, and I reviewed the footage, and it was definitely a whitetail. So I saw it with it was weird, the doe, and the doe was like super brown, like light tan colored, like all the other whitetails I've been seeing. And so I was like, cool, like that had to be a mule deer. And I reviewed the footage, and it was clear as day a whitetail. So
Light doe.
Hey, so if Rick is with you, what's his tactics going to be?
Rick, what's your tactic besides taking a nap right now? He said he's going to shoot one at 100 yards.
There you
go. He said going
high.
deep. I think he's half awake. But Rick started the first morning glassing. He actually took a pretty rough route today. The property that we've been sticking to, I don't want to give anything away, I guess, but it looks less aggressive than it is. It's shockingly very difficult to walk. Yeah, there's some issues with the topo lines we found. I think they switch a basis. So like where some of the properties around here are like every 10 feet, there's a line. And so they look insane, but they're not that bad. Every line is 50 feet. So there'll be places you don't think are that crazy, but it's like every yard you're gaining 2 feet in elevation. There's some of the hills I've had to walk up. It's very, very aggressive terrain. So some of the routes we've taken that Rick was trying to go on was following trails that we thought were going to be there from the map, but are no longer there. Come to find out they're bison trails. They're not like human trails. So they're not there anymore. So you trying to shimmy your way down or up ridges like that is very, very difficult.
Huh. No bison around here yet.
Are you running the shaded relief on your mapping app when you're looking at topos?
What'd you say, Rendell?
Are you running the shaded relief on the app when you're running topo lines?
I do not have that on in OnX, but I started doing more with CalTopo and having the actual 10-foot contours and then looking at some LiDAR mapping. I've got a better feel for it. I started using like the exaggerated terrain and that 3D view in OnX, and that's helped a bit. But it's not like it's still, I don't know, it's still just surprising. And you have to kind of choose a route that doesn't have greenery on it, like unless you can tell it's tall pines, because a lot of them are filled with grapevine. And so like you'll just get your foot absolutely caught up in it, or it'll be chest high vines, that you can't really rip through. So that's something I learned in the dark on the first day scouting is you can't just go down and up a draw, even if it doesn't look too steep. That green cover is thick.
Mm-hmm.
Rendell learned that.
Oh yeah. I'm also twice the size of you.
Rendell's just now catching on. That's not a good sign when Gary goes, "Hey, Rendell, you go first."
Yeah.
No, I go first, and then I look back and I see arms flailing and maybe a few swear words, and I got some good video. So
there we go.
Yeah,
that'll be awesome.
Those are late night videos.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, Jacob, any crazy Dan stories yet?
Other than that cat, not really.
Okay.
Just a typical, like Dan said he was going to be here today for the podcast, and he's not here.
Yeah, that's all right.
Which is whatever. That's how it goes. But yeah, I haven't really seen anything crazy with Dan, other than just his normal not showering.
Yeah,
just being Dan.
He told me he only brought one pair of underwear.
I believe it.
I was cooking some brats last night, and I said, "Hey, I want to change clothes so I don't smell like brats." And Dan's like, "What do you mean? I only brought one pair of underwear." Eric said they found a pair of underwear out there, so in case he does,
now he's got two.
He's got two. Yes. So
I heard there was a miscommunication on the town you guys were staying in.
Oh yeah, geez, that is a story. Okay, so. It's hard. It's also hard to explain this without giving it away. But
oh yeah, true. Just make up a new name.
Well. So basically he looked up like places to stay near X, right? So we were going to hunt
Real
near that
creative on
city.
the name.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
awesome.
Near Big
Sure, it
Bucksville.
wasn't triple
So-
X.
yeah, yeah.
You help with the
So-
new name of Twitter.
We were going to stay near Big Bucksville. And so Dan looks up places to stay near Big Bucksville. And it pops up with something on the map that is the same name, right? Right. It's yeah. So it says, all right, here's a place to stay in Big Bucksville. And he books a place and it's super cool. It's like a cabin and everything. And then
he was bragging about it to me.
yeah. He was telling me, he's like, it's cheap. You know, there's mounts on the walls. It's great. He's like, there's cats and raccoons out front. It's perfect. So, so of course, Dan was super excited. We were like, heck yeah, you know, cheap, awesome place to stay. And the day of was like, all right, let me drop some Onyx pins so I can just get travel routes together so I can navigate if my signal goes out and I don't have maps. And I look up the place we're staying and I'm like, dude, this is 3.5 hours away from where we want to hunt. Like this is or 2.5 hours. And he's like, dang, he's like, we got to see if there's a cancellation fee. Otherwise we might just have to eat it. I'm like, I'm not driving 5 hours a day to go hunt. Like we'd have to completely shift areas of the state. All the e-scouting would be gone, you know? And so I was like scrambling together. Dan figured out that he was going to get this guy that would normally charge him a cancellation fee to not charge him one. So that was very clutch. We were going to stay in a hotel for the first 2 days and then that cabin for the rest. So we had to cancel the hotel, cancel that place. And then I scrambled to find a Verbo. And the Verbo is like a perfect middle ground between the west and east areas that we want to hunt. So we ended up like I think it was like 11 o'clock the day that I was leaving, finding the place that we were staying. And it's actually a pretty nice place. So it worked out.
It all worked out.
Right. And there's still cats. So, you know, it's fine.
That's hilarious.
Oh.
That didn't surprise me.
It didn't surprise me enough
well.
to even think about to tell it in this podcast because
Right.
It's natural
It's just status quo.
behavior. Right.
Yeah, that's funny. It's always something.
Yeah, Rendell, did you buy yourself a new pair of socks?
No, I did not.
You did not.
I'm going with the whole holy socks for good luck.
Did you have a coffee accident in the morning? You had to use one, Rendell, or
No, they were just my toenails cut through them, I think. I need to cut those bad boys.
they were too tall?
You only brought one pair along. So
Yeah,
That's funny.
one pair of underwear too.
In your defense, you're not planning on staying as long as
No,
us.
probably not.
Yeah.
If Gary,
Yeah, he's
goes
gonna come
there
to our
already,
camp
I
for a
could
few
do
days.
right, I'm trying.
What'd you say, Jacob? Sorry.
They said he's got to come to our camp for a few days. That's why
Yeah.
he's not staying long.
You haven't really hunted. Have you hunted over here much?
Not really.
Yeah.
I think when you live in Iowa, man, you just get spoiled.
Yeah.
Like I venture out to all these other states, and I'm like, what am I doing here? I just want to go back. But I like early season as a warm up.
Yeah.
If you got all your new gear, you're rusty, you can get back into hunt mode. You can mess around. You know,
Mhm.
I'm out there clanging and banging on like, oh, I need to stealth strip that when I get back, or
Yeah.
oh, I need a different strap, or you know, it's just certain new products you're not familiar with too that you got to tweak or mess with. So it's good to get out early when you're not, you know, in prime hunting
Right.
mode
Right.
or chasing big bucks that you can mess around with your gear. So I like it for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was so windy yesterday. You can make all kinds of mistakes and get away with it.
Yeah, sure.
It's blowing pretty hard. Is it windy over there, Jacob?
Oh yeah, it's like 20-mile-an-hour winds, but it's you don't feel the wind at all if you're in the bottoms because it's so steep.
Mhm.
So it's funny because it's wide open terrain. It's still, you don't feel the wind if you're on a leeward side far down. So I kind of try to use that to my advantage because if you have like I'm not going to be able to explain it like that, but if you have the wind whipping into a gully, it kind of curls back like flat almost. So if you're sitting on a leeward hill right past that turn, you almost have no wind actually hitting you there. And I think that's why I feel like they've been dropping and side hilling and then dropping down into the very bottom of those kind of ditches. I really should call them canyons because that's what they're like out here. But if you can time it where that thermal tunnel's happening at where they hit the bottom, I feel like that's kind of common area, because I've walked through areas, and part of my strategy is like once I burn an area, like once I walk through it, deer aren't going to be there, right? So I got to this point where I was glassing, and I was like, I just set up this morning in a spot, and I watched a deer run down into that bottom and hang out down there, and I was like, well, I guess I can't write off anything now, because it's like but I feel like they feel so secure when they get a little bit of shade, a visual advantage, and then some kind of thermal pull that they don't even care if something was there. They just know they can get away from whatever comes there.
Yep.
It's a lot of fun though. I mean, it's
fun out here, just different,
completely different
Very
terrain.
different.
Yeah, I haven't set a stand even once.
I don't think there's many deer per mile as there are back at home, but it's a whole different terrain too, though. They do move further.
Yeah. Can you guys glass pretty well over there, Jacob?
Kinda. I got like a 20 by 60 spotting scope that I thought I was going to use a lot, but they're kind of tight. Like
it's hard to see them. They don't come out of the bottoms, right. I don't think.
Right. You got to have like a half mile between you to really effectively glass, like half mile to a mile, because otherwise the deer are seeing you pretty much anytime you make a move, or even if you're just sitting on a non-shaded hill. So you got to like find shade, but still have view, which is really tough.
Yeah.
And then you got to spot them from a long ways away, and then get them to bed somewhere you can see them. And there's so much trees and stuff around here. It's hard to, they just disappear. Eventually you see them for like 3 seconds and they're gone. Mm-hmm. So like, it's not quite the sand hills. It's like the structure of the sand hills almost, but more steep. And there's a lot of options for them, which makes it kind of tough. But
yeah,
I feel like if you just sat on a ridge early in the morning and you got in where they didn't see you sit down, and then you could actually watch one bed, like it didn't sneak into a drainage or whatever, I feel like you could use glassing really effectively. But I haven't been very effective with it yet. I've seen deer, but I feel like they've seen me the second I've started moving.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot different in our terrain.
Yeah.
Probably
we're on. It's kind of tough to glass. It's too hilly. You can't see very far. I mean, you feel like you can see far, but you can't really.
Right.
Where the deer are moving in, you know.
It's even a lot different than like Western Iowa where I hunt. So
yeah,
just that couple hour gap that's way different terrain.
Yeah.
And piggybacking off what Gary was saying, like they limited non-resident tags this year because the deer population's way down in Nebraska, so they're trying to help it come back. They got hit with like a bunch of EHD and stuff like that.
Well, so far we haven't put a dent in their population, so
we're not hurting anything.
Maybe they pay us for not shooting deer.
It's early.
The next doe might be getting up by somebody.
Get you a freezer queen.
Those two does this morning were I could have smoked them. They literally were 10 yards. Both of them stopped. Adult does with no young ones. Really weird.
Yeah.
Broadside. I was just, man, it was pretty sight. And then it just proved that setup works. So that's what I'm going to kind of do is I think I'm going to kind of just dive in close to some of these drainages, try to watch those drainages, whether the leeward side of it where they may bed and come up from bedding, or just using those to travel. Cause I noticed it seems like they use those to travel too. So
yeah, I
haven't really seen much for deer out in the open last 2.5 days. So
I wouldn't be surprised if they're betting lower too, Gary. Like typically upper 1/3 back where we're at home, but I would not be shocked at all to see them lower. I mean, if you're walking back, especially late in the day, or if you're scouting or whatever in the morning, and you just change your elevation like 100 feet, you can feel almost the exact line where it's 10 degrees warmer, 20 degrees warmer.
Yep.
It, and I've actually, the place I just scouted, I got a bunch of film of it, but I didn't find them eating a bunch of jewelweed, but I found them bedding in it. So I feel like they're browsing on it somewhere, but just on the edge of like a creek that's got sand and cover on specifically the side that is west facing. So like the side that stays shaded the most. They've been bedding there just in jewelweed and tall grass. And I feel like they shift somewhere, but I haven't found out where they shift.
Well, we went through WMA yesterday, Rendell and I, just the one there. Rendell got stuck in the cattails. There's a lot of river bottom there. And actually, when we pulled up, there was a guy just finishing hunting. And he had like a ladder stand or a blind or something just off this field. I mean, it was probably only 100, 200-yard walk. And he's telling us that there just hasn't been deer in there in the last couple of years. And he hasn't seen the tracks that he normally sees. And we're like, well, do you go this way at all? No. Would you go this way at all? No. And now at this point, we're like, well, here we go. Game on. You know, I mean, it's almost like a challenge. He says there's no deer. We'll find a deer. Well, I think he was right.
I mean, we found deer, just no bucks.
Yeah.
There's a lot of does in there.
We literally 3-mile walk through there, and we found maybe 5 rubs of the whole place.
That's better than what we got.
I crossed a river, a pretty big river, and got to the other side. I was looking at some sandbars. There was one corner of public, and that butted up against a cornfield. So I thought, man, that could be spectacular. That could be an overlooked spot. And the sandbar was loaded full of doe tracks and fawn tracks, little tiny fawn tracks too. I mean, some of those fawn tracks are only like the size of a 50-cent piece. I'm like, where they got fawns that are the size of squirrels here? What's going on?
Yeah.
So we got out of there and went to a different spot. The one thing I noticed that's been working for me is something I learned back in my trapping days when I used to trap coons is running the gravel roads and looking for sign there. They road grade these gravel roads and the shoulders are still soft, and I can see the tracks. If they're fresh enough, I can actually see what they were. The spot last night we hunted there, I saw a couple of mature bucks that came out of the area we were hunting. Unfortunately, everything was kind of a mess yesterday. But I'm finding that driving around these WMAs, I can actually see what kind of deer are coming in and out of there, if there's a lot of them or if there's none. So that's helped me out tremendously.
Yeah, and I used to do a lot of that right away trapping too. So he'll be looking at one side, I'll look at the other, and I'll pick out little feeder trails and stuff that deer are using. We'll just lock on the brakes, block the road, and then get out. We had a couple of people pull up on us.
And they chit chat. Hey, what are you guys doing? You guys deer hunting? Yeah. So they're like, good luck.
Yeah.
Until the corn's cut down, you ain't gonna see much. So
that's funny.
Are you guys in like standard hill country, like wooded hill country?
No, it's flat.
I've been trying to find like hill country. Everything that I've been concentrating on has got more terrain, like I said. So that's kind of why we're finding a lot of the deer too, is the more places with terrain. It kind of got a lot of diversity, so I like that. And the last couple spots that have the hill country, they've held more deer, I think, for me and Gary when we got there to scout.
So are you guys on like open ag or patches of woods mixed with ag, or?
It's like mixed ag. It'll be just a hill country piece, and then it'll have open ag around it.
Gotcha.
Lots of cornfields. Corn, no beans.
Yeah, there's not hardly any beans around.
Yeah.
A little bit of alfalfa.
Yeah, fields are a real rarity around here. We have there's 2 cornfields that are like those circular fields like you commonly see out west, and half the fields that aren't getting water are completely yellow already.
Yeah.
And
you can tell
there's one soybean field that farmer's probably dumping millions of gallons of water per day onto it. But the rest is like wheat, and a lot of it's getting cut right now.
A lot of the beans are already turned yellow here, and the corn they're already chopping. So I was pretty surprised by that. I figured my original impression of Nebraska was, glass some green beans and just see where they're coming in and out and put a move on them. Well,
not around.
That changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys want to? There's a couple questions. You guys want to answer those, then we can hop off here.
Yeah, let's get it.
All right. some gear questions.
Yeah, my favorite.
We got the expert anyway.
No, Gary's here for this one because it's been a long time since I've bought this. But Devin asked, "What are the waterproof gaiters called that you use on one of your videos crossing the stream, Josh?" Mine are Dan's frog legs, but Gary found another type that he really likes too.
Oh man, you're gonna
Godwin.
Yep, and they're fantastic. The first pair I finally wore through, I actually found out about them from some old conservation wardens and trappers, and they told me about them, so I thought I'll try them. They're a little expensive. They're about $225. They're briar proof, and man, I tell you, I think that first set I probably put on upwards of 4,000 miles before I finally had them leak. So I'm on my second set now, and I probably have a little over 1,000 miles on these.
Yeah, mine lasts me forever. I've had mine forever, probably since I may have had them since high school. Forever.
Well, I use mine during wintertime.
Yeah, I don't put as many miles on them
with
as you
snowshoes. So it's it's nice because then you fall through some holes in ice or something. You're not getting soaked.
When it's this hot, I just walk through.
Yeah.
I got to. It doesn't really matter. Just take your boots
Yeah.
off and go through it.
I was
didn't
talking
do that yesterday.
Yeah, it's being high maintenance, I think.
I was talking to a guy from here yesterday that I know, and he crosses the river. He said he brings swim trunks with him and swims across it.
Nice.
Like Dan.
That's awesome.
Like Dan's
Yeah.
picture of the red.
Dan just goes in
red
his underwear.
with the
Yeah.
hole.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's how Dan washes his underwear.
Yeah.
In
Hey,
the swamps.
good idea.
Yeah. He fishing. He just do it right on his body.
Right. You just see fish start floating up downstream.
Yep. When I said a couple of questions, that was the only one. So.
Someone
Anyway.
asked me where I'm at. I'm somewhere in the U.S.
Oh yeah,
Nebraska
we're all
region.
in Nebraska. That's as far as we can
Yeah.
go from now. But all right, everybody, we were just going to do this for an hour, and we're going to get back after it. Thanks for hopping on, Jacob.
Yeah, no
Hopefully,
problem.
hopefully we didn't interrupt your scouting or anything.
You're fine. We're all
Okay,
good.
man. Good luck, and tell Rick good luck too.
Yeah,
Thanks. Good luck
guys.
to you guys.
Yep.
Yep.
But
Bye,
Absolutely.
Thanks for getting on today, guys.